Buffalo lawmakers were busy today during the Common Council meeting with the proposed capital budget, money for the Buffalo Hostel, and other key projects all on the table.
Joining us now straight from Council chambers is Fillmore Councilman Mitch Nowakowski. Mitch, thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
So first, let's begin with this big vote. How did things go this afternoon in Council chambers?
So we only had one council member that voted in the negative. And what I want to really clear up and make sure that Buffalonians know is the separation of three things that the Common Council approved today in capital expenditures. The first is $27 million that we usually do in capital service. That goes for infrastructure. It's now going to go to $2.3 million in fire trucks that we know after the blizzard we desperately need pumpers and fire trucks, and road work that we see every day in our communities. The second is we have to borrow for the Buffalo Public Schools because you know when you go out in the suburbs you have to go vote for your own budget. So we're going to front the money for them to do a project at Da Vinci, which is 100% reimbursable. And for them to not use their cash is super important because we actually share a bank account with the Buffalo Public Schools. And then the third is bonds. They're short-term bonds so that the city can then leverage hundreds of millions of dollars for infrastructure work and road repair that has already been announced, like Jefferson, Middle Main Street, and other really critical corridors that need to get done. But these projects are often done with federal and state dollars. Right. They need the city to kick in to complete the project.
So let's talk a little bit about what this budget is so we don't confuse people, because you have been in here talking on this couch about the city's financial woes and its potential deficit in the tens of millions of dollars. What was approved today by the Common Council was a capital budget, which is a separate budget for projects, things like road rebuilding or bridge rebuilding or those kinds of infrastructure things. So let's talk about that $110 million, which was approved today, despite the city's financial woes. Why do you think this was a good idea? Why did it get your yay vote today?
So the only expenditure in the cost of the city to the entire budget is anticipated to be $900,000 for the band section. Okay. And that could be staggered over 5 years, or we could not issue those bonds. So there's a separation of authorized and issued and authorized and unissued. So if for the band section, about the $24 million that the Common Council approved are for projects, that those infrastructure projects, if they're not shovel ready, the city does not issue that bond, comes at no expense to residents. And the large part of it is because we're up against a deadline. We got to see these projects and shovel ready, and we pay capital debt service every single year. Those payments just get rolled over into our capital debt payment every year.
And a lot of the payments for these projects, let's say $20 million to resurface Jefferson Avenue or something like that, right? That $20 million is either spent or it is not. And the other part of this, which I think you brought up too, was you have to spend money to get money. Tell me what you mean by that, because a lot of people don't get money when they spend money, they just spend money. So the city needs to spend some money to get money back from the state and federal government. How does that work?
Sure. So when you see, on the news where we cut the ribbon and say we're going to get all this infrastructure, $20 million on Jefferson Avenue project done, usually that's $18 million of state funding, 10% of it is federal, and then the rest has to be city. So the city really has to kick in a minuscule amount to leverage those infrastructure dollars from other municipalities to see road work happen in their city. And it would be a shame if we allowed a penny on the table to not be leveraged to start fixing up a lot of the critical infrastructure that we have.
There was some debate. What were some of the concerns others had?
So a lot of the concerns for the majority of the council members were dispelled. So I, as the finance chair, met with the comptroller last week. I asked a ton of questions and got a lot of answers. And so our bond counsel, basically in a vaguely written email, said that it does not come at an expense to the city to leverage these more dollars. And as a municipality compared to our counterparts, we don't have as much debt as other municipalities do to get their projects done. So we have the capacity. Even the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority even said that we can do this, and it is prudent to get those dollars out and to leverage them.
If we could switch gears, because our time is a bit short, let's talk a little bit about the future when it comes to the city's role, if you will, for the hostel. That made news this week. We talked about the city finding, or basically applying for state money, $2 million to shore up that building so that it doesn't fall down. What would you like to see the future of that building be in downtown Buffalo?
Great question. So it's a large structure that's on the 600 block on Main Street. It's beautiful. It goes from Main Street to all the way to Washington Street. And the rear structure, I'm shocked, didn't fall down, to be quite frank. So the Bureau, the Buffalo Urban Renewal Agency, allotted $1.2 million to fix it. And then we're now trying to leverage $2 million in state funding to fix it. The fact of the matter is Bureau is an anti-poverty agency. So the city can't subsidize the hostel if they are a new tenant. So we have to shore up the building. I know the cultural significance of the hostel and would like to see them there, but they have to get their business plan to make sure that they could be a tenant that actually could survive there.
Very, very quickly, what's the timeline with this? What's the latest?
So the deadline to submit to the state is December 20th, so we really had to get this done. We have to host a public hearing, and relatively quickly the state and we believe that this is a very competitive application to secure that $2 million.
So we could get some answers on that story in the coming weeks. Definitely something to stay tuned for. Mitch, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.